Ladies and gentlemen, I know you're tired of hearing about it, but it doesn't matter because it's not what you and I want. It's what the NFL wants to see. And I have told you guys, I've told you, man, all I do, I'm like Morpheus, man, from The Matrix. You're going back to the 90s. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's in syndication. It's on TV. You can probably watch it. But I be right, man. I be right when I be talking about this stuff because I'm like Neo, right? Well, I said I was Morpheus. I'm more like Neo. I can see the code. And the code says to me that the NFL want to get that money. And that money is going to consist of your Detroit Lions playing somewhere deep into the NFL playoffs. As a matter of fact, I had a question for you guys. I asked this question, and I wasn't sure about the answer, but now I am 100% sure what the answer would be. If the Detroit Lions were in the Super Bowl, would it be the most watched Super Bowl or the least watched Super Bowl? Because they exist. My answer is the absolute most watched Super Bowl in the history of the Super Bowl. The last Monday night, Week 17 game of 2024 was the most watched game of the NFL season, beating the opening game with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Lions have been part of that for a long time, over a couple years now. We've been breaking records whenever we play in prime time. With that being said, the NFL got a couple of things they pushing. And I'm going to tell you, like I made a video on Lions Syndicate, that this is a real possibility. What am I talking about? You already know. Your buddy, your pal, your old friend, Matthew Stafford. The narrative ain't done just yet. And when you hear the word narrative, here, let me explain to you how I feel about the NFL. I don't think the outcomes of the game are predetermined. I think that there are storylines in the NFL. That's what makes it interesting. Otherwise, what would we have to talk about? If you go back to 2021, Matthew Stafford was traded, and the storyline was Jared Goff discarded. Matthew Stafford went from non-existing to everywhere you could look. He was on every magazine. All of a sudden, he went from non-existing to the golden boy of the NFL. And what happens? He won the Super Bowl. I saw it coming. Did you? You know what else I see coming? I see the narrative coming to its conclusion this year, if the NFL can make it happen. What do I mean by narrative? Is why do we say don't put the games in the hands of the refs? Because the refs can sway the direction of the game. And as Lions fans, we know that. We've seen that. All right? The NFL, I'm going to tell you, the biggest two games of the NFL season, rating-wise, is always the Super Bowl. So it would be the Super Bowl whether the Lions are in there or not. The Lions in the Super Bowl, now we breaking all type of new records. I think it's the most watched Super Bowl in the, 59-year history of the Super Bowl. But I tell you what's almost as good as that. The Detroit Lions facing the LA Rams at Ford Field in the NFC title game. And last year was a precursor to that. How could that happen? I'm going to tell you how it can happen. And I think that it's a couple ways, because there's one way if the Lions get home field advantage, and then there's another way if they don't. Currently, right now, the Detroit Lions are the first seed. If they win on Sunday, they stay in the first seed. This is the way it works easier. Last year, the first seed and the third seed in both conferences were in the title games. Last year, the third seed, which was the Chiefs, went to the Super Bowl. We were the third seed, and we blew it. But we should have been there. That would have been 2 third seeds that played in the Super Bowl. Now, look what it is. Chiefs, number 1. Lions, number 1. We beat the Minnesota Vikings. We stay number 1. The LA Rams cannot drop from 3. They went from 0-2 to the third seed. They are stuck there. If we wouldn't see them into the NFC title game. And that's how that can happen. All right? So I think the narrative is at play 100%, and it will be no bigger game than Matthew Stafford standing between the Detroit Lions and their first ever Super Bowl appearance. I'm going to tell you what, that right there makes that 17-point lead look like child play. It looks like child's play. Matthew Stafford against Jared Goff. Ford Field. one man stands in between the other to get to that organization's first Super Bowl that you left. So the most to watch games in the NFL would be the NFC title game with Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff at Ford Field. The second one will be the Super Bowl. Book it. Book it. Now, again, this is if the NFL can help it. Sometimes they can't. Sometimes it's blowout. Sometimes they cannot. They cannot sway. They cannot help it. But if they can help it, and that's the key, if they can help it, I truly believe this is what it will be. Because I think that let's look at it like this. Let's cut back to it one more time. Because here's what I think. Rams, right now, they're probably going to face the Commanders. It's either going to be Commanders or Packers. I see them really beating the Commanders. They might beat the Packers. Then they would we would face if one of these teams, because the Lions we could see a rematch in 2 weeks of the game that we're about to see. It could be a rematch of that game, right? In the divisional. And then we would sit. That means that the Rams would probably have to go through the Eagles, or the Eagles could be upset. I'm not out of the possibility of the Eagles getting upset by either the Commanders or the Packers, because the Commanders are a division rival, and the Packers, that's what they do. They as the 7th seed. As a matter of fact, how about this? Oh my God. This is a new last minute revelation. The Packers were the 7th seed last year. And they could go in and knock off the 2nd seed once again. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. You cannot write a better script. And it's a good thing, I guess, the NFL doesn't do scripts, but they do storylines and narratives. All right. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will say this. If the Lions win on Sunday, check that when the Lions win on Sunday and they're the 1st seed, I think they punch their ticket to the Super Bowl, because mathematically it happens more often than not that one of the top 2 seeds are in the Super Bowl. More often than not. And if the Detroit Lions have home field advantage, they're going all the way. Anyway, this channel, nope, that's the wrong channel. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm doing too much.